Antigua and Barbuda is once again emerging at the forefront of the fight against climate change. Along with the fourth SIDS conference, the country is also hosting international delegates here who are discussing the potentiality for a legally binding treaty on fossil fuel emissions. With more, again, is Rakib Aparicio.
We had the first target in 2030, which we needed to reach 45% reductions on emissions, but the world is going to 20% more, not 43 less, but 20% more, so we're not solving the problem.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says fossil fuels such as coal, oil, petroleum and natural gas were responsible for 86% of all CO2 emissions in the past decade, making them the biggest driver behind global warming. Countries across the globe, but primarily those most affected by climate change, are coming together to establish frameworks to reduce the use of fossil fuels and, in turn, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The ministerial meeting of the nation-states forming the Fossil Fuel Treaty Initiative began Sunday with a clear goal in mind: to equitably reduce the world's dependence on fossil fuels.
It's about support to nations that need financial and political support to be able to transition from fossil fuels and to move to a non-fossil fuel future.
Antigua and Barbuda is the first Caribbean state to throw its support behind the treaty's establishment. With 12 other states from across the globe on board, Political Director for the Fossil Fuels Non-Proliferation Treaty, Gillian Cooper, says the intent is to have the support of at least 20 countries by the end of the year.
We're building the political momentum, and with a diversity of nations and nations from various regions of different economic capacities, then we'll be able to have a kind of critical mass that we might then get to the point of negotiating the treaty.
This, she explains, will not be realized for another few years. For fossil fuel producing nations, particularly those in the Caribbean, Cooper indicates the future treaty will take their economies into consideration as well.
So there would be a much longer timeline for phasing out for those countries, but for those that have much higher per capita incomes, that actually have the fiscal capacity to be able to transition, theirs should be first and fastest.
Rakib Aparicio reporting for ABS News.